Hey, my name is Aurora and I'm from France. Before I tell you my story, please like and subscribe to the channel. My parents were dollar millionaires and hardcore business people. They profited from every little thing, and in just about a minute, they would come up with an ingenious scheme to turn 50 cents into 50,000 green crispy bucks at a snap. And just like they treated their business projects, my parents treated me and my twin brother Bernard. From the very cradle, we became involuntary participants of a crazy race, proving and showing the world that our family is the best and the first in everything. My parents made strict demands on our studies, appearance, and social circle. We lived under the strictest discipline and time management system that my mom and dad came up with specially for my brother and me. Efficiency, high scores, and public recognition, with which my folks were obsessed, became gods for me and Bernard. Or rather, headaches. I think it was because of these high standards that our eyes began to twitch involuntarily in moments of extreme tension. My right eye and my brother's left eye, although the doctors said it was a genetic anomaly. Our interests were strictly inspected, and everything that seemed unrespectable or non-prestigious to my parents was ruthlessly thrown away into the dumpster of our unfulfilled desires. Although, to be objective, unlike my brother, I was a rebellious child by parental standards and always defended my dreams and goals, which I continued pursuing, sometimes regardless of being told not to. My brother, on the contrary, tried to please my parents in everything, and he went out of his way to match mom and dad's ideas about perfect children in a perfect family. They tried to cultivate the spirit of competition, achievement, and permanent contest in Bernard and me, even in our relationship with him. Aurora, Bernard, one of you who gets the maximum grade at your end of year test will receive 1,000 euros and go to a chic party hosted by the daughter of our business partner. This is a great motivation to show your will to win and that you deserve to be our children. We're preparing you for the big and merciless world of business. You have to be cold-blooded, sharp-toothed sharks who without any guilt can swallow their opponent before they get swallowed. Mom and Dad taught us. And Bernard was all tense and stressed, trying his best to reach that high-set bar of expectations and requirements of our parents. But me, I deliberately failed the test so as not to go to some silver spooners party. Instead, I wanted to stay at home, have some peace and quiet, and do something I loved. For example, I would spend hours reading fiction books and not that stupid literature like How to Wake Up Your Genius in a Month and Become the Ruler of the World, which my parents were feeding us in huge amounts. I also listened to records on an old gramophone my aunt gave me. Agree, it's a bit strange for a present-day girl to go crazy for the music played on a device from the past century. I even had to hide the gramophone from my parents so that they wouldn't throw it away. Every time they caught me doing this, they said it was stupid and pointless. I also loved to compose my own music and play it for myself on a violin that I found in the attic, but I didn't tell anyone in my family about it for a long time. Seeing that I'm much harder to train than my brother, my parents set him as an example for me in everything, and gradually I became the black sheep of the family. Everyone spoke with irony about me and made offensive jokes. Our Aurora is completely out of hand. We give her all the best things, introduce her to the circle of the most respectable and influential people in the country, teach her to survive in this merciless and cruel life, and achieve the pinnacle of success. And she doesn't care. It's like she's not our daughter. She should have been born into a family of farmers and milk cows. Honestly, unlike Bernard, our golden boy, he'll definitely become someone special. How did it happen that we had such different children? Dad liked to say and shrug in surprise. But I got used to such commentary, stopped paying attention to them, and stayed true to myself. As they say, when the dogs bark, the camels just keep walking. Of course, my beloved aunt, the one who gave me the gramophone, really helped me accept the situation in the family. She had no children of her own and treated me like a daughter. She supported me and in many ways cushioned the effect produced by the course of raising children that my parents chose. If it wasn't for her, one of those days I would have raised in teenage rebellion and ran away from home. Believe me. Auntie never parted with a beautiful old medallion, a gift from her mother, my and Bernard's grandmother. She was convinced that it had some kind of magical power, able to attract good luck and repel trouble. Dear Aurora, when you grow up, I'll definitely give you this magic medallion. It will not only bring you happiness in life, but it will also look very cute on your graceful neck, just like your grandmother had in her youth. And she was the most beautiful woman and lived a long, remarkable, bright life, said my aunt. And I lived in anticipation of the day when this talisman would finally be mine. Meanwhile, Bernard was busy preparing for a bowling game with the son of one businessman, our parents' fierce business rival. Mom and Dad tried so hard to set him up for victory and motivate him that it put him in such a stress that he literally fainted and an ambulance had to be called for him. If it wasn't for our aunt, who came to reassure and support my brother, this story would have ended very badly. She was able to make things all right. But when I saw my aunt putting the magic talisman that she had promised me around Bernard's neck, something broke in my chest and my heart skipped a beat. My boy, the mystical power of our ancestors is hidden in this talisman. When it's on you, you will fear nothing and take control of yourself. You're a man, after all. Do not doubt that this medallion, the victory, is already in your pocket. Our aunt encouraged and hugged my brother tightly. Bernard cheered up, straightened his back, and calmed down. Meanwhile, I didn't know what to do with myself and was going in circles around my room. I was overwhelmed by a storm of emotions. I couldn't understand how my aunt could give Bernard what she'd promised me. If the closest person deceived me like this, what did I expect from other people? And then I did the worst thing in my life, which I regret to this day. At night, I snuck into my brother's room, took the medallion from his neck, and with all my anger that I was capable of, threw it out the window. I felt no remorse for what I did until the next morning, when I saw my brother's crazy eyes. He was randomly running around the house, checking every corner in search of my aunt's talisman. There was so much sincere grief and hopelessness in his actions that only a frozen heart could be untouched. I felt ashamed and spent the whole day trying to find the medallion in the garden, but it was all in vain. Before the game, my brother went weak at the knees. His hands were shaking and his palms were sweating. And naturally, he lost the bowling game, which caused the anger and disapproval of our parents. From that day on, something seemed to break in Bernard. He stopped believing in himself and was sure that losing the medallion made luck turn away from him forever. Our parents called my brother a spineless slug and a weakling, but over time, for some reason, they decided that Bernard was jinxed and started taking him to various psychics and alternative medicine practitioners. But no matter how hard they tried, nothing helped. Meanwhile, I was completely submerged in my musical creativity and became so bold that I stopped hiding it from my family. My parents clutched their heads and said that their already crazy daughter had completely lost it. Aurora, if at least a drop of common sense remains in your empty head, try to hear me and Dad. We want a better future for you, and we tell you this because we've lived longer and we know life better. Your music will never pay a single bill. Come to your senses, girl. We really want you and your brother to follow in our footsteps and go to the best business college after school. My mom tried to convince me and urged me to behave reasonably. But when this persuasion didn't help, she turned to heavy artillery and used forbidden tricks that can completely destroy the relationship between parents and children. You naughty girl, you're crazy. Do you want to beg for money by the subway entrance when you're old? Your love for music is a direct road to such a life. You must know that if you don't follow the path that Dad and I have chosen for you, you will leave this house without a cent in your pocket. I promise you. Sometimes I think that you, along with your loser brother, were taken from the maternity hospital by mistake instead of our real children. My mom scolded me and tried to make me ashamed in this weird way. But I didn't fall for these manipulations, and already then I realized that my mother was driven by her own pain. How can a happy and contented woman talk to her child like that? Probably her parents also forbade her to be herself and choose her own way. Therefore, I didn't hold any grudges against her, and during our conversations, I was sympathetically and understandingly silent. Moreover, without realizing it, my mom gave me an amazing idea. I didn't even think that I could play my music right in the street. Let's say by the subway and make my own money. And I started that very evening. I put on a white dress, pinned a red rose to my hair, and started playing the violin right in the subway car. And I was a huge success. People listened with admiration and they applauded. And by the end of the evening, the case of my musical instrument had several large bills and a mountains of coins in it. My first earned money. And so it went on every evening. And as they say now, I became strong and independent at 15. And why did my parents decide that you can't make money on your talents? Once I noticed a guy who traveled my route every day and left large sums of money in the case. One day he introduced himself and talked to me. His name was Dennis, and he was an aspiring artist. And my music delighted him, and he wouldn't let go. The guy was following me, although he had to go in a completely different direction. Aurora, you don't even realize how talented you are. You can't bury your gift in the ground. Someday your music will conquer the world, Dennis confidently stated during our first conversation. He said that he got a scholarship and an invitation to study at the art school in Marseille. Not only artists were accepted there, but musicians also. This was a boarding school, and my new friend was leaving in the next few days. For some reason, he was sure that they would approve a scholarship for me as well. And I decided to try. Can you imagine the rage and indignation that my parents experienced when they heard that news? They completely lost control of my life. Nothing was going according to their plan, which they had built for me since childhood. But nothing could stop me. My scholarships, as predicted by Dennis, were approved, and I already saved up for a ticket to Marseille and the necessary studying supplies, so I left soon after. The years of studying were flying by quickly and reassuring me even more to choose the right course in life and to learn from personal experience how important it is to listen to your inner voice. Dennis was 2 years older and finished his studies before me. But even after that, we never parted for a single day. Our love for art brought us together, and our friendship turned into a beautiful romance, like in those classic movies. Can you imagine the relationship between a musician and an artist, both obsessed with art? Exactly. So when I was in my last year, Dennis proposed to me in front of everyone, and we got married. I made great strides in my career as well, and you won't believe it. But even during my studies, I was composing music for top Hollywood movies. They called me a genius girl and said that I would go down in the history of music like Bach or Mozart. And at the end of my art school studies, I received a grand offer. I was invited to work in New York at Carnegie Hall. And very soon, Dennis and I were supposed to fly to the U.S. So you understand why my performance on stage during the last exam was a triumph. The school concert hall was packed with people, and many of them had to stand in the aisles between the rows. And suddenly I saw the eyes of my mom, dad, brother, and aunt, with whom I didn't communicate after that medallion incident. They were sitting in the front row, and my heart was full of joy. On that day, I felt like I was playing just for them. After all, my relatives had never heard my music live before. After the concert, they came up to me and Bernard handed me a huge bouquet of red roses. Mom couldn't hold back her tears and she hugged me tightly. My dear daughter, we're so guilty. Being apart from you all this time has helped us reevaluate a lot and realize how wrong your father and I were. It's great that you didn't betray your dream, even despite the fact that we devalued it, Mom said sincerely. At that moment, my aunt took out that same magic medallion from her purse and handed it to me. Turns out that sometime after my departure, she found the talisman in the garden and kept it for me. I gratefully took this dear gift and put it around Bernard's neck. My brother, you need it more. Believe in yourself and remember that it's never too late to start trusting your dreams and going for them. You have a whole life for this, and anything can happen in it. I know for sure, I said. Bernard picked me up and started spinning me around, like he did when we were kids.